There's been 28,800 people have been killed since this Ukraini-Russian war has begun. February 24th. If you think it started on the 24th, no, it started in 1932 with the Holodomor. 28,800 people have been killed because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine, because of Russia's rape of Ukraine. Today is day 46. And the total body count, I'm going to explain how I got to that figure. But, 2 weeks ago it was 21,000, so it would be more than that. But this is a conservative estimate, too. So 28,800 people have been killed so far. Now, first, some facts. The population of Ukraine, it's 1/3 the size of Russia's approximately. You got 144 million people in Russia. And you got 45 million people in Ukraine. 45 million souls in Ukraine. So Russia and Ukraine, I mean, it's incredible that they're killing each other because they're basically really large countries with a lot of people in them. They have a lot of similarities that would make them the bestest of friends. Reminds me of my old high school rivalry. Gallatin County and Carroll County were very poor counties. But our basketball, we had so many similarities, but our basketball teams hated each other. Maybe you're just so damn similar, and when you're on the bottom, it's like, no, you're the asshole. No, you're the asshole. Population of Ukraine, 45 million. Population of Russia, 144 million. Both Ukraine and Russia joined the United Nations in 1945. So they have been, countries. I don't know. I mean, Soviet, would you consider them a nation under the Soviets? If not, then that means Russia and Ukraine, you could kind of make an argument that they've been here since 1991. Here's a list of cities in the Ukraine. Most of them are occupied, but not all of them. Kyiv, Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipro, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Lviv, Kryvyi Rih, Mykolaiv, the boat ashore. March 30th, 35 Ukrainians were killed in an airstrike attack of a government building. So Mariupol, oh my God, over 5,000 civilians have been killed there. Over 5,000 civilians. That's not even including the troops and how many soldiers. That's what the mayor said. 210 were kids. City council said that Putin is using mobile crematoriums. That's all happened in Mariupol. Inner Horder, Kherson, Luhansk, Makivka, Simferopol, Kherson, Poltava, Slavyansk is supposed to become the center of the war. That's the next ground zero. That's where Russia apparently is going to try to take over next. Slavyansk, Izyum, Rubizhini, Bucha, Kramatorsk, Berdyansk, Irpin, Berdyansk is occupied. Irpin, Yahidny, 20 were killed in Yahidny. They're all stuck in that basement. Viktor Shevchenko was killed. Now, Nikita and Yalta and Sevastopol, this was listed as cities that used to be in the Ukraine. And this is an important point because when you look at the Russian speakers and the ethnic Russians of Ukraine, they're all in Crimea. So it's like 75-20% or some shit. You take away Crimea, then it's like 80-90% Ukrainians and the rest are Russian. So most of them were in Crimea, such as Nikita. Nikita used to be Ukrainian, but it's in Crimea, so Nikita's gone. Yalta, gone. Sevastopol, it's in Crimea too. Gone. The largest city in Crimea. It's a major port on the Black Sea. Sevastopol, Yalta, the famous Yalta, where Churchill and Stalin, all the rest of them. Churchill, Stalin, and who's that other fucking prick? Oh yeah, FDR. That's where they all met up at. NATO estimated that 7,000 to 15,000 Russians have died this month from the fighting. Okay, so let's talk about the numbers. Now, we have, NATO is estimating between 7,000 to 15,000. How many Russians were killed? Well, anywhere between 7 to 15,000. Huh. Hey, you got my money? Oh, I got your money. How much did I owe you? Around 7,000 to 15,000. Around 7,000 to 15,000. I'm going to go with 7,000. Is that all right? So you take the median, I guess. You could take the median of it. But what that says is 7,000, that's a significant, and it could be up to 15. A median would be what? That's a 8-point difference. So add 4, 11,000. So 11,000 is how many Russians they said have been killed. 11,000. Now, this is an estimate. You have the Ukrainians have been their numbers are super precise, and I trust the Ukrainians' number. I'm also, biased on the Ukrainian side, so of course I would. But if you're just assume everybody's liars, then the only thing that you could really trust is that when the Ukrainians say how many Ukrainian deaths there have been, or when the Russians say how many Russian deaths there have been, that you could trust. Because, of course, they'll inflate the other people, so it makes it look like they're winning, right? But if they're saying, well, but 100 of our guys was killed, I mean, you probably could assume more, but at the very least, it's probably true, right? 90% of the infrastructure of Mariupol is gone. They bombed a hospital and a theater there. All right, so, okay, what? 7 to 15,000? Ukraine said that over 4,000 civilians have been killed in the Russo-Ukrainian War and the Ukraini and the Slavo-Ukrainian War, even though the United Nations puts it at 1104. 1104? I mean, I like that the United Nations is being meticulous. They're probably saying we need a name for every death. So you can't just say, well, about 15,000. Give me a name, motherfucker. So I like that they're being meticulous, but 1104, that's like only 16 people died in Puerto Rico, huh? And 100 people died in Iraq? We have all them intelligence agencies, and none of them know how many people died in Iraq. So the Ukrainian government is saying over 4,000 civilians have been killed, but then you had that mayor in Mariupol that said over 5,000 people were killed. So fucking shit. 14,000 Ukrainian troops have been killed and 16,000 have been wounded. This is what Russia says. 16,400 Russian troops were killed and 1,200 Ukrainian troops were killed. So that's what Ukraine says. I trust Ukraine's numbers. I think Russia was getting their ass kicked in the propaganda, so now they're just saying, yeah, we've killed 14,000 of their troops. No, you have not. No, you have not. The 1,200, 1,300 number, I think, came back, from March the 12th. So I just doubled that. 3 weeks, there was 1,200 deaths. So, double it. That's 2,400. So I wrote a best case scenario, then a worst case scenario, then the most likely case scenario. According to my opinion, best case scenario is that, mostly, all those Russians were killed. Very few Ukrainians were killed. And no civilians were killed. Worst case scenario, well, then you get the big numbers, right? You got to go with the big numbers. 10,000 civilians were killed. The worst case, 16,000 Ukrainian troops and 16,400 Russian troops. That's the worst case scenario. All right, 10,000 civilians, and that's according to their official estimates. So it could be higher. Most likely it is higher, right? Of course it is. There's going to be somebody that was shot off to the side that nobody even knew about until Russia's bombed 938 educational institutions. 87 of them have been completely destroyed. So they're bombing hospitals, theaters, schools. On March 21st, the Russian tabloid Komsomolskaya Pravda reported that 9,861 Russian troops have been killed and 16,153 have been wounded. 6 major generals of Russia has been killed. Of the 20 or so Russian generals who were sent to Ukraine, at least 6 of them have been killed. Stalin once said, if you kill one, it's a tragedy, but if you kill 1 million, it's a statistic. I think it was Stalin. It'd be fitting if it was Stalin. Seems like something Stalin would think and believe and say. It's very consistent with the Russian character. Not only is it motherfucking the Rurik and Olga, Igor, they try to conquer, Kiev and Novgorod and all that shit. But the Drevlians, the native Ukrainians, they ripped Igor in half. They ripped Igor in half. Igor would be like the fourth president, right? The fourth, they'd be like Monroe. Madison came to get some taxes, and then the people just ripped him in half, tied his two legs up to a birch tree, and the Drevlians did not like the Swedish Vikings. The Russians claim that, the Swedish Vikings are their home. Anyways.